Zuehlsdorff, Hazel and the Dolphin Tail movies. Here we go. Oh, you're too nice. Check that out. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna go drink for a while. You guys go and talk. I'm going.
Starbucks.
And you got caffeine though, right?
Yeah.
I don't want that.
No, I have a tea.
Oh, tea. Tea. Okay. Is that cool, guys?
Hi, guys.
All right. So how'd she do in her movies? How did she do as Hazel in the movies? Pretty good? Alright, so cool. So let's do this. So first of all, let's tell them what we just did. Alright guys, so Cozi comes back. Cozi comes back every couple months. Actually, you were here, as I mentioned now, you were here end of May, you were here in April. March too, I guess? You had to do concert. Anybody know, you guys know she's actually a great musician also, not to get in this real quick, but we will. She had her first concert here across the street at the Capitol Theater in April. It was amazing. We'll talk about music more later on. But Cozi comes back pretty often, and a lot of what we do, guys, at CMA now is, you know about our work with animals, that we're really blessed to work with a lot of kids around the world that have been inspired by, remember I mentioned Winter's story a second ago? How she really shouldn't have lived, and really got kids connected to her story. Well, we just got the privilege of FaceTiming a couple kids that we got to talk to. So you want to mention who that last girl was, or what her name was?
Well, we met. Usually we do kids with disabilities. We'll do awesome FaceTimes and really meet them and talk to them. Like we met a girl with scoliosis and talked about her back brace and how it has purple butterflies on it. You know, it just kind of brings some sunshine into their day. But then we also met a girl named Sophia who came to the aquarium dressed as Hazel, and apparently is like a real life Hazel. Like she's super into marine biology and everything, so we FaceTimed her, which was awesome. Yeah. And David said, do you have any questions for Cozi that you might want to ask? And she pulls out this paper with all sorts of questions on it. It's like, okay, we ready? We're gonna go. Like, it was awesome. She was great.
She's from the UK also. I think somebody's calling from Mom right here, so there's Mom right there. I'm here to help. There you go. Anyway, so
Mr. Yates, save the days.
That's my job.
Winter's Rescue.
So what happened with this girl Sophia is I do a talk every day in the theater over at the aquarium, and then I get down and I do pictures and stuff. And she came up and she was dressed like Hazel, and she's like, I'm Hazel. I'm like, oh, you? She said, no, I'm Hazel.
Like she had a laminated thing that said like Hazel Dolphin Rescuer. It was so awesome.
She had her hair done like you did. Yeah. So very cute. So but having said this, the girl she mentioned after that. Was, guys, really what we're about today in a lot of ways is Winter Stories that inspired so many people around the world by the millions. And we get letters, and we get thousands of letters and calls and visits every week, and have for 4 years now, about how Winter's inspiring story that I just mentioned to you before Cozi came out has done so much about that. So let's do this. You guys ready to have some fun? All right, so here's the deal. We have a Q&A session a couple times throughout the talk. So if you have any questions you want to ask Cozi, this is your chance. And then when we get done with this, we're going to have a little bit of a break, and then she'll do pictures and autographs over here. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about Cozi, where she's from, get to know who she is. I know her family very well. She has a great family. But where are you from? Tell us about your mom, dad. You do have a mom and dad, I believe.
I think so.
I think I met them. Yes once, right? So.
Well, I live in California, about 2 hours south of Los Angeles. So my mom and I commute whenever I have an audition or anything like that, which is a really long haul. You know, like you have 4 hours of driving, and each audition's about 5 minutes long. So you invest a lot of time, and you hope that it pays back in rolls, which I'm grateful to say for me it has. I'm really grateful.
But you have air conditioning in the car now, so.
Yeah, that's a funny story. For years, my sister is 4 years older than me, and she used to model in LA a little bit when she was about 8. So when I was 4, I just have these terrible memories of driving all that way with no air conditioning in our car and just being like, this is the worst thing ever. And so for years, I did not want to go and try anything in LA, even though my acting teachers were like, her acting students in TV and film, you should try it. Because mostly I did musical theater, which I loved, and I still love. Musical theater is awesome. But anyway, I transitioned out of musical theater to finally starting to dip my beak into TV and film. And for about a year, when I was 10, I did commercials, and that was fun. Commercials are fun, but they're not, you don't get to tell stories. Usually you're selling products, and that's not really where my heart was. I didn't like to just be famous or be in stuff. I wanted to actually tell stories. And so I switched agencies to the agent that I have now, who I love, and she got me into all kinds of TV auditions, film auditions, stuff like that. And my 6th audition with her was Dolphin Tale, and so the Lord just really blessed me with that role. And I can't believe that my first movie is something that 5 years later I'm still talking to people about. Like, it's a huge blessing, and it's something that barely ever happens. So
with air conditioning, it's called 255. 2 windows down, going driving 55.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. So, guys from my generation know what that means. All right, so let's talk about this. So she mentioned she did some other things before, but how did you? So you mentioned, and we love Pam, your agent. We love Pam. She did a great job. So when you got your first major motion picture was Dolphin Tale. So for you kids out, anybody want to be involved in acting? Anybody have dreams of being acting at some point? If you're out here?
Yeah, yes.
So they're about
do it.
So you were 12 years old when we filmed Dolphin Tale, right? So what was it like 12 years old coming on the set? Now, when I was 12, as I always say, I'm still learning my basic math tables. I'm still probably learning how to ride my bike using Velcro shoes. And you're going on a set to act with Morgan Freeman, Harry Connick, Ashley Judd.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was it intimidating? Was it just exciting or both?
Well, first of all, for you parents out there, when I heard I was working with all these huge name actors like Morgan Freeman, Harry Connick, Ashley Judd, I was like, who are they? Like, I had no idea, you know, I just turned 12, like, I haven't seen Shawshank Redemption or like, you know. So I was kind of blissfully unaware of how amazing these people were until I really got to know them as people, and then my respect for them just grew and grew and grew, you know. I was raised to be a really respectful kid, so I was never like, hey, what's going on, you know, but I did kind of, I wasn't as shy as I probably would have been had I experienced, you know, watching their body of work grow and grow and grow. But then also, I have a question for you. I've never asked this before. For those of you who are 12 and under, how long do you think a 12-year-old can work every day on a film set? How many hours? What would you say? Okay, we have one guess for 5. What would you say? 3 to 5. When you're 12, you can work 9.5 hours on a film set. And only 3 of those are school, and those 3 hours are not all at once. You have about 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, like just all throughout the day in between scenes. So it's a lot of work, but it's super fun. Now that I'm 16, I can work 10.5 hours, but then also once you test out of high school, you can take an exam in LA, and then you can work unlimited hours once you hit 16. So it's a lot of work, but it's honestly, like, people would joke around because every time the weekend hit, I can count on one hand the times I was actually happy the weekend had hit, because I'm just the kind of person who loves what I do. Like,
so we can do 10.5 hours?
I'm super just passionate about it.
Wow, we could go till like
we've got 10.5 hours on the day like this
tonight. We're
yeah,
just
we've done it
tonight.
before.
All right, so so you guys, do you like the first movie, Dolphin Tale, right? You like the first movie, right? Yeah! All right, there you go.
Good, if you didn't, you're out of here.
That's right. We have security. Throw you guys out right now. So, all right, so you guys like the first movie. So let me ask you a question, though. What was it like? You know Harry Connick Jr. very well. I know you guys are dear friends. And we all met Morgan. What was it like working with those guys? Again, was it intimidating? Were they just typical people? What was that like on the set? Because most people think, oh my goodness, yeah. Morgan Freeman, Harry Connick, how can I even talk to those guys?
Well, Morgan Freeman, I only got to work with, he actually was only on set for 2 weeks for the first movie and 1 week on the second. And we got all of his stuff done in that time. So while I didn't get to know him very well, I really, really like him. He's great. And he loves to sing, he loves musical theater, so we really bonded over that, obviously. And then Harry is just one of my favorite people in the entire world. I really can't speak highly enough of him. As a musical mentor, I play piano. I've played for like 8 years, which is like I probably played for over half my life. And so his instruction and his advice as a writer and as a performer and just as a music theorist, I don't know if that's a word, it's probably not, it's just really been something that I've been blessed to experience. So he's awesome. He's also hilarious, which doesn't hurt.
He is quite funny. So let's do this. We're going to pause for a second, ask some questions, and we'll start some more Q&As and stuff later on. But any questions for Cozi? By the way, before I do that, she hates this when I do this, but Cozi's mom is back here. She's a dear friend.
Yes,
she's a big part of Cozi's life. So
she's the other one with the Starbucks in the room.
I want to acknowledge that's Cozi's mom, Allison. Allison, if you raise your hand, I hate to embarrass you. There's Cozi's mom. And she's also a world-class singer. She won't let me hit you for saying that. But
yeah, she was in a band with my dad. That's what they did for a living.
It's a great history. Mom and dad.
I know, it's awesome.
Traveling band. All right, guys, questions? I'm going to start with a guy question. I love it. Here you go, buddy. What's your question?
Do you ever get to see winter
do you?
That's a really good question. Well, that's what's fun about being a spokesperson here is that I never have to miss winter because I'm here 4 times a year. So I'm really blessed. You know, like I didn't just shoot the movie and then never see winter again. It's really awesome. Okay.
Oh, follow up. There you go. Are you like a media person, or you have like
undercover press?
When you were in the movie, did you skip school or did you go to school?
That's a really good question.
See, that's a boring question.
No.
Did you get to skip school?
Question. That's a really great question.
Wait. The motivation is this. The motivation is because if you can skip school, you're going to take up acting, right? Is that it? Is that why you asked that? That's good.
That's some people's philosophy, but not mine, not my family's. We're serious about education. So yeah, when I shot Dolphin Tale 2, it was a lot more serious because I was a sophomore in high school. Now I'm a senior, but I had 3 hours a day to do sophomore work, and I was like, this is not enough, you know. So you really have to focus, economize your time, and then I schooled even into the summer, which is usually what I do because my work it takes me away from school. So I'm doing French right now in the summer, French 3 and government. Yeah, so it's just life, you know, like, and you just do it at different times. I don't get much of a Christmas vacation or a Thanksgiving vacation, but I do make up my school in that time.
It's a big
and again,
part.
it lets me do what I love, so I wouldn't trade it, that's for sure.
And I'd watch you do it every day. She and Nathan would go from acting to do math to back to acting to do something else. So school.
Yeah, Nathan was taking German. He sang me a German lullaby one time, which is really weird.
That's scary. Wednesday, we're going to do that. So I want you to stand up and ask you a question real quick. I'm going to show off your shirt. This lady has one of our Sea Turtle Nesting Patrol shirts on. We oversee sea turtle nesting for our county, so every day our staffs are on the beaches of Pinellas County looking for sea turtle nests. I'll be setting a nest next week, so turn around and show me your shirt. There you go. So she's part of our team. How cool is that, right? All right. So what's your question, sweetie?
Does a teacher come with you when you're...
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, studio teachers usually are connected with the film rather than the actor. You can sometimes request, but I had Pat Jackson, does anybody know who Josh Hutcherson is? He's been in a lot of movies, like Bridge to Terabithia, for those of you who know, that's one of my favorite movies. Or like he was the boy in that, and then obviously now he's known for The Hunger Games. But his teacher, Pat Jackson, his teacher of like 7 years, he was my teacher for Dolphin Tale 2, actually. So if you watch Bridge to Terabithia behind the scenes, you'll see him tossing the football around. He's awesome. He made everything fun, like pretty much everything. I had to read the Iliad, which is a really, really slow read. I'm just gonna say it. It's a really slow read. It's a lot of pages to get through. So we had cuties on set from craft service, and we'd play catch with a cutie while listening to it on audiobook, and it just made it go by, and it helped me to focus, actually, which was funny. But he was the best. Pat was the best. I loved him.
Good question. I love your shirt. Hope anchors, is that what it says right there? We have a dolphin name. Oh, there he goes. There you go. Very cool.
Oh, hope anchors the soul. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul. That's awesome, yeah.
Great stuff. All right, so we'll do some questions in a few more minutes. Let's talk about Dolphin Tale 2. So you guys, do y'all like the first movie you said? Here's a question for you guys. Did you expect a sequel? Well, here's what happens. Some people say yes, most people say no, and the reason is there's never been a sequel. Now think about this. There's a lot of real-life movies that come out all the time, right? And I love those kind of movies. I'll be inspired by real-life stories. It happens all the time. But there's never been in Hollywood history ever a sequel to a movie based on or inspired by a real-life story ever until Dolphin Tale 2. And the reason that is if you have a real-life story that's good enough to be greenlit by a studio, where they're going to put $100 million into it, it's got to be a really good story and you hold nothing back, right? So for example, our filmmaking partner is called Alcon Entertainment, and they work with Warner Brothers. Alcon's #1 movie all time is a movie called The Blind Side. You guys remember The Blind Side? Sandra Bullock? Great movie, based on a real-life story, but there was never a sequel.
A lot of people think we're a Disney film, but we're an Alcon and Warner Brothers film, yeah.
Alcon and Warner Brothers. So the fact is, this great real-life story, but they never had a sequel. So when Dolphin Tale came out, we're throwing out ideas for a sequel. They're like, Dave, it just doesn't happen. If we could have, we'd have done that for The Blind Side, right? So they, long story short, but we had something amazing happen. If you don't know this, and the film I mentioned, Winter the Dolphin That Can, tells the whole story, but Dolphin Tale 2 is about what other dolphin we got? Hope, right? Well, Hope actually arrived, guys, and Cozi was there. It's a crazy story. Hope actually arrived. Now, Dolphin Tale for me was about a 4-year experience. Between writing the screenplay, hiring the cast, pre-production, is about a 4-year. Movies don't happen quick, right? But it just so happened, providentially, the last day of filming, during the goodbye party for the cast and crew at the restaurant next door, the last day of filming for Dolphin Tale is the night Hope arrived.
Hope actually arrived, and like the trainers and everybody who were saying goodbye to us at the goodbye party, they had to leave and go rescue Hope. So that night she actually arrived. It was unbelievable, and everybody was like, "Oh, there's our sequel," and we were all like, "Yeah," and then we're here now,
3 years
and
later.
that is our literal sequel.
Yeah.
And we wrote, and like Charles Martin Smith, our director and writer of the second one and the first one, but he wrote Sawyer Going Away Party because it was meant to be our going away party. Like we were trying to make it as true to life as possible. And actually, we shot it at the same restaurant we had our going away party at. Like everything's Hope really was carried up by one of the guys up the ramp and lowered down into that exact pool. I think almost the same truck. Like we really go all out. When we say true story, we make it as true to life as we possibly can.
It was crazy. So Dolphin Tale 2 came out. So here's what happened is, the first movie, a lot of the cast you get, somewhat is based on schedules. Are they available? For example, Morgan Freeman. You guys, you promise, if I tell you a story, you promise you won't call TMZ? Seriously, Morgan Freeman was our third choice for his role, Dr. McCarthy, right?
The first one was a woman. Can you guys guess who it might be? For Dr. McCarthy.
Sigourney Weaver?
She was in an Alcon movie before.
Kathy Bates was the first choice for Dr. McCarthy. She wasn't available. Our second choice was a man. Does anybody have a guess on who they think would be a great Dr. McCarthy? This was back when he was supposed to be Scottish. Dr. McCarthy was written as a Scottish man. It was supposed to be the late and great Robin Williams, but he was also not available. So then, they call Morgan Freeman because they're like, they hadn't thought of him before because they're like, Morgan Freeman will never be available, and they call him and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. What? So we were so excited.
Let's just call Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Morgan
Never
Freeman.
know.
Yeah. But Morgan loved the movie. He loves inspiring. Matter of fact, he has a true story. Cozi uses all the time. He has an assistant named Quentin who's really a cool guy, and he'll email us or call us every couple of months. He's like, Morgan wants to know, when are we doing Dolphin Tale 3? So Morgan's also a conservation kind of guy, loves the oceans, loves marine life, so it kind of makes sense for him. Anyway, but here's the point is, getting all the actors to match their schedules the second time is really, Cozi knows this, is really, really hard, because they're all busy doing things. Morgan does like 95 movies a year, right? He's in every movie out there right now.
Well, and Harry was like working on an album, going on tour for his music, and shooting American Idol at the time, while he was also shooting Dolphin Tale 2. So, I can't believe that he actually, I remember him telling you, I wouldn't miss it. I would.
Yeah, it was really cool. I saw him on the first day of the set on Fort DeSoto. We're doing Mandy's release, and I said, Harry, thanks for coming. He said, Dave, he said, I would never miss this. But like Cozi said, he's filming American Idol on tour. But let me now tell you about why I think they all wanted to come back. And I want to just pause for a second, and you guys listen up if you would real quick. When Dolphin Tale came out, the first movie, we had around 10,000 emails that very first weekend, just the first weekend. And then thousands of guys, we get letters every day. We've had literally hundreds of thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, calls, emails, visits, and usually it's a mom saying something like this: my child has such and such issue, fill in the blank, special needs, is going through chemotherapy, is autistic, has a cleft palate, has a prosthetic leg, and just going down the list. And I want to tell you how Winter's overcoming story changed the life of my child. Didn't just inspire him or her, but literally changed the life. And they'll write out what happens. We get these every day, and we're like, oh my goodness. Now this happened before the movie came out, but when it came out, it just exploded around the world. Literally, we do dozens of Make-A-Wish visits every week. It's just became this, Winter's stories become this pilgrimage from around the world of life-changing stories that we see literally every day. I can walk in the aquarium every day and I can meet 50 families of why they traveled. And I guarantee there's some right here today. You traveled here because Winter's story really inspired your child. We also have a Wounded Soldier program. So just Winter's ability to inspire people. And there's a lot of movies that are inspiring, but very few actually cross the bridge and become a life-changing movie. Well, that's why everybody wanted to come back.
We met people who would like watch Dolphin Tale every time they were going through chemo. That was the movie that they pop in. They have Winter that they'll bring into surgery and like stuff like that. It's really like you said, it crosses the boundary of like this is actually going into people's lives. Like
I had a boy here yesterday who has cerebral palsy. His life dream was to meet Winter. This happens every day, every 5 minutes. Well, I'll tell you a quick story. About, and Cozi's heard this one also, I think, but it happened during filming. It's not Zoe, it's another one. But when we were filming Dolphin Tale 2, guys, we were actually open on weekends. We were closed on weekdays. So Monday through Friday, CMA was closed. It was a private set for filming. We were open on weekends. And I was here the second to last weekend on a Saturday, and I met a family, and actually one of the volunteers came up and said, there's two girls, they're here, they love, you guys like Rufus, by the way? You like Rufus in movies? Well, they said, we gotta see Rufus, and Rufus was actually hidden behind a wall we built for filming for the set, right? So they couldn't see Rufus. I said, I'll take care of that. So I walked him around back and had to meet one of our trainers to meet Rufus. In the meantime, I asked them, Mom and Dad, why are you guys here? I always like to hear the story of why you guys come. And so, I've had this happen, guys, thousands of times, and I'm not exaggerating, but I like this stories that happened during filming. And the mom started telling me the story about, there's two girls, ages 5 and 10, and she started telling the story about her older daughter. And then she said, we're from Argentina, and our daughter has a heart condition, and then she starts crying, she can't finish it, so the dad picks up the story. And the long story short, the girl she's 10 years old at that point, and she's had, I think, 9 heart surgeries to date already in her life, at age 10. And they live in Argentina, and he said, we fly to Boston for every surgery, so it's just an enormous deal. My daughter she's embarrassed. She doesn't feel like she lives in a room by herself, doesn't have a life, lost all of her friends, and just didn't want to move on with life. Then he said, but she watched Dolphin Tale, saw what Winter did, saw that it was real life, went on your website, watches your webcam, she bought the Winter Plus doll, she bought the real life movie, and said it completely turned her life around. And now, before she goes into her surgeries in Boston every time, she'll watch the movie again and inspires her. It's completely, and he's crying we're all crying like babies at that point. And he just told the story about how Winter's overcoming story had really turned his daughter's life around. Well, right after that, I met another family that tell the same story. So the point is, that is what Winter's Story has done. So I think the obligation I really have, I think back in 2007, Winter's Story was kind of a cute story. But now it's a responsibility I have to tell it everywhere we can, because I've seen the life-changing impact it makes. And I guarantee you, we're going to meet people today in line, you guys have the same story. And so all the actors saw that, Morgan, Harry, Ashley, Cozi, Nathan, Austin, the two Austins, and said, we're coming back. So that's why I thank you guys came back. So you liked our first movie, so if we did a third movie, would you watch it? Yeah! I didn't say we're doing one, I just asked you a question. So how about if we did a TV series? All right, so we're working on some ideas right now. Nothing to announce right now, but just stay tuned. We'll have some announcements later on this year. So before we close, a few more questions, and then if you want to say something. All right, so anybody who did not ask a question the first time, raise your hand. Here you go.
Did you really want to fly Sawyer's helicopter?
That's a boy question.
Good question. Since we were 12, it was kind of a bummer. There was actually a guy off screen, legit, flying the helicopter, and we were going, oh, we're flying it, aren't we cool? But the guy was flying it. It was such a bummer. It was such a cool helicopter, and if you look at our controls and at his controls were so cool to the helicopter. It was awesome.
So here's a funny thing. Cozi mentioned this. So I have 3 boys, right? And they all said when they grew up, we want to be like a video game guy. I'm like, guys, sons, you got to get a real job. You can't do that. So my first movie, we have guys making living flying helicopters. My kids are like, see, Dad, I told you. We could have done that. There you go.
How old do you have to be to work here?
To work
here?
Well, we have to be, well, here's what happens. For insurance reasons, you have to be 18. We do have a junior volunteer program for our summer camps. Occasionally, you can be 16. So 16 for summer camps, maybe, but 18 typically because of insurance reasons. So that was kind of a business answer. Sorry about that. Do you have to ask a question yet?
Do you get to actually handle the animals, or is somebody else?
In the movie, yeah. Almost everything that you see in the movie, especially Dolphin Tale 2, of me working with the animals is, well, okay, this is interesting. It depends on the animal, and it depends on the scene. When I'm feeding Mavis lettuce, that really is the turtle, the real-life turtle, whose real name was Harold. Mavis is a guy. And so Harold, I was actually feeding Harold lettuce. Whereas when I'm petting Mavis and she's out of the water, and we're panning through that shot where you see everybody's shocked reactions, and you see me squirting the turtle with water and being like, hey, that's an animatronic turtle, a robotic turtle. And actually that's why in the blooper reel you'll see me scratching the turtle and it like twitching its leg like a dog, because the guys are there with their controls. It's really cute.
Hey guys, back here.
So funny.
Here you go, next question.
Who's your favorite pop singer?
I know you. Hey, girl. Okay. Favorite singer? Thank you for asking. I love answering this question. Okay. right now, I would have to say Tori Kelly. Her Unbreakable Smile album is just like on repeat all the time. Love it. And then Gavin James. Nobody's really ever heard of him, but he's kind of like the new Ed Sheeran. He's Irish, and oh my gosh, his voice is amazing. But as far as pop singer, Tori Kelly.
All right, good stuff. She was going to say me, but I did cut my first CD.
I was going to say David Yates.
I did cut my first CD. Here you go.
More R&B, David.
Cincinnati Reds, right? All right, good. Here you go. Oh, okay. All right, cool. So you're a baseball player. All right, you're the man.
Did Sawyer actually make the helicopters?
You know what? He didn't. Yeah, he didn't make the helicopters, but I wish he did. And we did get to kind of fool around with everything that we were working with. So yeah.
I'm going to ask Nathan that question on Thursday and see what he says.
Yeah, grill him and say like.
He may claim that. You never know. So. You're good.
What was your reaction when you first saw Winter?
Well, when I first heard I was working with Winter, I screamed. Like, we were in the pool with Panama, and they said, "Do you want to go meet Winter now?" And I was like, "Ah!" Which apparently I got the only dolphin that was good with because Panama's deaf. But if I had screamed around a dolphin that could hear, apparently that would have been a really big problem. So I was like, "Oh, phew, I'm glad I didn't cause a problem." But I was just so excited and kind of nervous, because it was like, "Oh, this is such a big deal." But then once I worked with her, it was great,
All right, good questions. Couple more.
Does Winter still have her fake tail on?
Yeah, she wears it like 3 hours a day around that for therapy. Yeah.
That's actually physical therapy for Matt. She doesn't wear it all at one time because it might cause friction and heat, so we take it on and off throughout.
Just like if you ask someone how they use their prosthetic leg, it's pretty much the same. Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
I'm in musical theater as well. And
Yes.
how did you make the switch between musical theater and TV acting?
This is going to be again an analytical answer, but you need an agent. If you want to go, oh, you have one? Well, girl, you go for it. Awesome. That's pretty much the transition. You need an agent that can get you into the rooms that you get to go for. And then, honestly, I would tell you the acting's just very different. Musical theater, you're talking to the person in the very back of the auditorium. On film, you're talking to the camera, which is an inch away from your face. So it's very much more subtle.
Good question. All right.
Less is always more. Yeah.
Last question, then we'll wrap up. Here you go, sweetie.
What was it like when you first met Sawyer?
That's a good question. This is actually a real story. And I'll go into the audition process a little bit. Do we have time, Mr. Hayes? Is that okay? Is that okay? Do we have time for me to tell a story about
sure,
the
go
audition
ahead.
process? Okay. So I was 11 when I first auditioned for the film, and I turned 12 over the casting process. So when I was 11, I got a call from my agent saying, "Okay, there's this role. Her name's Hazel. You're going in for it. She works in an aquarium. Cute story about a dolphin." I didn't really know anything about it. I think I had heard it was a true story, but I had no idea what it was about. So I was like, okay. I got the sides, which are about 3 scenes of a movie that you audition with. So the casting people select 3 different scenes, or sometimes 2, that really show off the character and who she is. So I auditioned with the scene where I crash into Sawyer and go, "Don't you want to see the dolphin?" And, isn't that why you came? And I talk a lot because Hazel had to be able to just rattle on and on and on. So they picked that scene, and then the popsicle scene where we're talking about our parents and what's happened to them. The never calls, never writes scene. And so I auditioned with that initially, and I was like, I prayed afterwards, and I actually remember taking a picture afterwards, like, yay, because I had this weird good feeling about it, and I was like, I just want to remember today. So I took a picture. I had worn my lucky flip-flops, which was just, looking back, I'm like, really, Cozi? You could have worn nicer shoes? But, so I auditioned, then it was like 3 weeks, and what happens in movies is they don't call you just to tell you, you did a great job, but you're not going further. You only get a call if you're moving forward, basically. So it was a really long time, and I assumed I hadn't gotten it. It had been like 3 weeks, and I was like, well, there goes that. But I got a call after those 3 weeks saying, "You're now going to meet with the director and audition again." And I was like, okay. And a funny story again was that I thought Sawyer was supposed to be a lot younger than me, because if you just read it on paper, it looks like I'm kind of talking to somebody younger. Like, "Don't you want to see the dolphin? Huh? Come here, little buddy." So like, I'm sure I was playing it wrong because I totally didn't know he was my age. So I did the callback. The director gave me a few notes, and I kept working with him, and I felt good about it again. But it was only like 15 minutes. So then I left, and I was like, well, I really want this, but I don't know what's happening. So then a month went by, and I didn't hear anything. to the point where my agent actually called me and said, I asked her, do you think dolphin tail? No. And she was like, yeah, I don't think it's moving forward. The next day she called me and said, oh my gosh, Coz, you're in the final 3 for Hazel. So 3 Hazels, 3 Sawyers. Talk about scary. We go up to LA to the offices of Alcon Entertainment, up a bunch of floors. We're sitting in the waiting room, and that audition was about 4 or 5 hours long. And they kept it's called a mix and match. That's the technical term for it, where they'll mix and match different Hazels and Sawyers. And Nathan and I both went last. We were the last pairing, which we were told later was planned, even though they tried to make it look like, let's just try to you guys, that they had planned us to be the last pairing. And before I had actually gone in the waiting room, I remember seeing Nathan. We were in the parking garage, and I saw him walking in with his mom, and I turned to my mom, and I was like, there he is, that's gotta be the guy who plays Sawyer. Like, I just felt it. I knew he was, before I'd even met him. So then I met him, and Nathan's kind of funny. If he doesn't know you very well, he's kind of like, hi, like, especially when he's young, he's like, hi, nice to meet you, I'm Nathan. You remember that. He was all like, I'm really professional, because he had worked on 26 movies or something like that before Dolphin Tale. I'm here like, I've never been on a film set, hi, you know. And so we worked together, and then they added another scene, and they asked us to stay late, and they told everybody else to go home. So at this point, my mom's alone in the waiting room going, oh, okay, you know. And we're auditioning, and then they say, okay, thank you very much, you can go. And we were like, okay, bye. And then 3 days later, I got a call from my agent that I had booked it, which was so exciting.
And we chose the right one, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so a couple last comments real quick. Cozi will be signing autographs and pictures over here. If you want to buy a copy of her CD, here's her CD, guys. You need to get this. It's an amazing. We didn't talk too much about music, but it's an amazing CD. We have the film Winnie the Dolphin that Can she hosts also. And
also I have a new single coming out in like 2 weeks, so check iTunes. I will say that.
It'll be on our website also. She's an amazing musician. But also, guys, make sure you get all this out on social media. We're trying to reach 1 billion people today. All right, so you
And
can
also for the last thing, can I say one last thing before we go?